Do you have like a little intro?
Yeah, I wanted to run something by you real quick.
About this? Yeah.
How do you feel about the
Lay it on
word
me.
every pony? I think
it's very funny.
I think it's
I think
funny
it's
as
very
well.
funny.
I think it works
Yeah.
because it's like sort of a furry game we're doing. Anyway, I was thinking
yeah.
about dropping the word every pony.
I like that a lot.
Just wanted
I
to
like that a lot.
see how that would feel. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
It feels good.
I think
coming
not,
out of my mouth.
Yeah, I think not every time, but I think in this specific context,
Okay, sure.
I like every pony.
We'll see. Next time, we'll see. I did
Yeah.
recently drop in every pony at work.
Yeah,
Just because I thought it was funny, and
yeah.
one of my coworkers was like, "Why did you say that?" It's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Because I enjoy life and like to have fun.
Yeah. Hello, every pony, and welcome to Leaving the Party, a chill podcast about role-playing games. My name is Kerry,
My name is Tess.
and today we are talking about Lovely Lady RPG, a game about walking around and seeing what happens, developed by Digital Poppy and Mia Kane. You can find me and my games writing on my blog at leavingtheparty.blog. Tess, do you have things you want to put in here?
Yeah. You can find me at teshshilapoti.com and on Instagram at teshshilapoti. I make comic books, but mostly I play furry visual novels.
Yeah.
In this context,
Mostly in this context, we are playing furry visual novels. So
Yeah.
this is a podcast. I don't know what the viewership is like. If people are familiar
1 million.
with 1 million gajillion, I think more likely probably just the trans women that we know personally.
Yeah.
But for anyone who is not familiar, Leaving the Party is a blog that I run about role-playing games and what they are. It's sort of journal style and laid back, and this podcast is intended to be the same way. Just to sort of give an intro on what we're doing here, we're not going to put too much pressure on ourselves about it. We're mostly using this as a way to talk about games that we're interested in together. Like I said, it's mostly for the transgender women in our lives. God bless all of them, every single one.
Every single one.
The idea, I think, is that we're going to tend to go pretty long form with these sort of longer episodes, because I think getting to discuss something at length with someone allows us to sort of really investigate what works about it, what doesn't, how it affected us personally, and learn more about each other and our friends and loved ones.
That's so true.
So, yeah, this is Leaving the Party. You can think of it like a sort of little book club, but for role-playing games.
It's exactly like that. And you can imagine us as your best friends in your ears all the time. Please develop a parasocial relationship. Please. I know you personally, and we're best friends.
We are your friends. Mostly I'm interested in the process here, sort of what we come to learn about the things we discuss while doing it. But yeah, that is Leaving the Party, and this is the podcast that we're doing. I can tell you what we aren't doing is this is not a news podcast. I do not plan on making the subject of this podcast about games media news or video game news.
We don't want it to happen.
We hate the news, folks. We hate the media, the journalists, those despicable journalists. There is, of course, a lot to be said about games media, but I don't think that I'm really the person to say it. I work at a hospital, so so I'm not really cued in on everything.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited about like doing a deep dive into like a game, an RPG, a story, and talking about every aspect of it that we can think of to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty big scope, and I think that's enough.
Yeah, we're really
for our
really twisting all the juice out of this situation.
You can picture this podcast as like one of those orange juicers that like you have to plug in, you know? Like it makes a big whirring sound, and then when it spits out the orange, you're like, holy, you did a number on that thing.
I would like to
know what I'm
endorse
talking
that.
about?
I think that you should
You know what I'm talking
specifically I think you should specifically think of us as a juicer. That's exactly what I would say about what
A traditional
we're doing.
juicer.
A traditional.
We're not doing the like, not the ones that you like buy the prepackaged stuff from Whole Foods and then like it adds water into it. It's like, no, you're like putting fresh apricots into the juicer.
Have you ever been? I went to a diner one time in Cape Cod with my dad when I was like 14 or something.
Yeah.
And the way that they made their orange juice, they had like a proper, like fully non-electric, like analog orange juicer. Like they just had like a shitload of oranges and they pumped them into this thing and they squished them into juice and they served that to people. It was so good.
I've seen ones that are like you cut them in half and then there's like a handle and you like press it down. Was it like that, or was it like a big,
no? It was like
hydraulic press situation.
It was like a big press sort of machine thing.
Wow.
That you like manually were like pulling a big lever to squish a bunch of oranges all at once into a little container. That was great. Anyway, that's what this podcast is. We are the diner orange juice crusher
exactly
machine.
like that.
But yeah, today we
Video
are
games
talking about
the oranges
of
No, we can move on. It's okay.
No, go on. Video games are the oranges of. Great.
Sorry. Sorry, I lagged out.
Oh, okay. I was making fun of you. That's okay. Today we are talking about Lovely Lady RPG. Lovely Lady RPG is a visual novel RPG about a woman named Ghost, who is also transgender and is also a rat, much like the hosts of this podcast.
So true.
It is a game that is marketed as a game about walking around and seeing what happens, and that is very much the case. That's pretty much what it's about. They nailed it right on the head. It takes place in like early 1920s sort of furry alternate history, like basically just after World War I. It's weirdly a lesbian period piece just as much as it is a role-playing game, but also because it is written by online trans women, everybody talks like they are extremely online instead of as if they were in the countryside of the 1920s England. Oh, I was just going to say, what do you think of this game? Give me some very basic thoughts about.
I think it's awesome. I'm a huge fan. Here's the thing that like spoke to me about it is like this is a piece of fiction, like sci-fi, fantasy, alternate history, in the same way that like any other piece of narrative is, in that it is like focused on a very specific experience in the main character, and then it is talking about those feelings and the things that are happening in the real world contemporaneously through the lens of like a video game that lets you look at it through a bunch of different angles. So like we were talking about like what it is like to be trans and gay and broke in 2025, but like the setting and the characters are allowing a huge array of viewpoints into that life. One of the things I really appreciate about this game is like it is extremely political. Like it is everyone in it is interested in politics. It talks a lot about politics. It talks a lot about like all of the things that people like to pretend aren't politics but are, like how do you pay rent? How do you like fall in love? And it puts all of those things in a fantastical context and lets you explore them for yourself, which is like my favorite part of visual novels like this that are light on the RPG but heavy on the choices. The game of it is like how are you going to move through the world? How are you going to make this work? Who are like the people that you're going to meet and the perspectives that they're going to have, and that feels like what it's like to live in the world is like the same questions that you're waking up with in this game of like, how do I pay rent? How do I fall in love? Are the same things that happen to us here. Those things being refracted and mirrored back to us is really interesting. Very effective.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the questions that the game is asking of the player is mostly surrounding a lot of those questions that you were just talking about. How do I pay rent? How do I who do I talk to today? And that's like a lot of what is going on with this game, is that it wants you, honestly, more than anything, a lot of the tension around the game comes from the fact that your time with the game is limited. This is a game that takes place over the course of 4 in-game days. Each day you have 6 actions that you can take. For each one of those actions, it is generally a conversation with a person or a visit to a place or something like that. And a lot of what the game is asking is like, how do you manage that time? What are your priorities? Is your priority to get estrogen, which is a big sort of push for the game? Part of something that you will definitely want to be doing throughout the game is trying to figure out how you're going to get your hormones. As well as how you're going to, who you're going to talk to, who you're going to spend most of your time with, how you're going to make the money you need to get your estrogen and to get your rent and to fix the hole in your roof. All of these questions are things that they're asking about how you're going to spend your time. And I think that is one of the like biggest questions at the end of the day with the game, is how you're going to use your time throughout the limited time that you have.
I think like this game's relationship with time is like sometimes you will play a game like this and there's kind of an artificiality to like, you can only put so much in a game. Like there does need to be a limit when you're making like branching decisions like this. And I think that the way that this game handles that kind of structure is very, it's straightforward with you. Like it's honest about what it's doing. Like little things progress every day, and then when you reach the end, like there's some reckoning with like what has happened and what has changed, but it is also willing to say like, yeah, like things will continue in the way in some way, and you don't know how that's going to happen. Like this is a snapshot of life, and like the struggles that you're facing right now, but it's not removed from the rest of reality. Like it's just a moment in time in the decisions that you make right now, and I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, it very much is like a short little snapshot of this person's life.
Yeah.
Tess, I had a idea for a segment that I wanted to run by you.
Please do. I love a segment.
So I was thinking about this game. I was thinking about the fact that because a lot of the game is about making decisions on what you want to do, everybody's experience with the game is going to be pretty different in one way or another. Nobody's going to be making the same exact decisions every day for every part as anybody else. And so what I kind of wanted to do is, while I was walking home today, I had an idea for a segment called a 90-second summary. And the idea is that I would set a timer. We would have 90 seconds. And each of us, and we can sort of workshop this a little bit. Okay. But my idea was that each of us would, in that 90 seconds, try to write out a summary of their playthrough of the game. And then after the 90 seconds, we would present them and see how different they are.
Okay.
We could also try something completely different.
I would love to just talk through in 90 seconds, like summarize what I got up to. Okay. Can I hit you with a summary?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to set the timer?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay.
I am going to set a timer right now for 90 seconds. Or 1 minute and 30 seconds if you're
If you believe in
I don't
that
know.
sort of thing.
if you believe in that sort of thing, if you sort of count time in different segments
Sort of
other
a
than
time
seconds.
pervert.
Yeah.
Do you what do we think about spoilers? Because I'm gonna get to the end of the game.
How do you feel?
I think that most of the stuff that I want to talk about, I think, would be considered spoilers. If you haven't played it, check it out. It's really good. If you enjoyed
Yes.
Disco Elysium and you're transgender, you should play this game. I would heartily recommend
Yeah,
it.
that is extremely worth saying. There's a couple things I actually want to talk about before we get into more narrative things. Okay. This game was developed it was developed by two people, Digital Poppy and Mia Kane. My understanding is that Digital Poppy did most of the writing and programming and stuff like that, and Mia Kane did a lot of the art. I don't know if that is exactly how things were split, but that is my sort of understanding of the process. I know Mia Kane is mostly the artist on the team, but I'm sure that they cooperated a great deal. And it was made in a engine called the Nerat engine. Do you know anything about this, Tess?
I don't know anything at all.
Yeah, the Nerat engine is what was used to make this game. It is an engine that is, my understanding, is free, but maybe don't quote me on that. It seems really accessible. I was looking at the website for it just the other day, and it has a really good like tech demo page that shows you on like the left-hand side of the page all of the programming and code that goes into it, which seems very simple. And on the right-hand side of the page shows the output of what the programming is actually doing. And it's meant to create sort of very basic RPGs in a visual novel style, exactly like this. I know that Mia Kane made another game that I am interested in playing at some point.
I did play another game also by Digital Poppy, I think. That was about, I think it's called like Mia the Christmas Dog. It's about taking care of a dog. And then the dog died and I felt really bad about it. Christmas Hound Mia.
Christmas Hound Mia. I'm looking at the same thing right now. Also made in the Nera engine, it looks like.
Yeah, I played this and I could not figure out how to not kill the dog. I felt really bad.
There is a free game that I was just talking about by Mia Kane. I'm gonna drop in our chat right now.
Go for it.
I just dropped the letter V instead of the Control V. It's called "Will This Bitter Night Bring Change? Two Women in Trouble" by Mia Kane. I really love the subtitle, Two Women in Trouble. Yeah. It's a great little weird David Lynch thing going on there.
They do be doing that.
The basic staples of the Nera engine is this sidebar on the right side, the visual novel section in the middle, and very basic like skill checks, passive skill checks that will prompt different dialogue, or active skill checks that will also give you different dialogue based on success or a failure. And it's used basically in a text adventure visual novel style game. So I really like the Nera engine. It's definitely something that I want to look into more and see more games from because I really enjoyed playing this game.
Do we want to get into a little summary?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. All right, I'm timering you. Let me pull up the thing.
Okay.
All right.
You know what? Time. I have my own timer.
Oh. Okay. Never mind. I will not timer you. I'm putting my phone down
on my timer.
We're doing this on Tess's time.
I'm sure you're really good at it. 1 minute, 30 seconds. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. So this game starts with you are hit in the chest with an orb, and the orb starts speaking to you. It's kind of like an intelligent, the voice like left brain kind of thing. It knows a lot of things. It wants to educate you, And the relationship with the orb is like the closest relationship that you're going to have over the course of the game. There's a few moments where you sort of get an insight into like what kind of mind this is and like how it interacts with you. Well, we're going to come back to it. But alongside the orb at the beginning of the game, you also get Nasty Girl and Lovely Lady, who are the other two kind of voices in your head. And both of them come out of a book and have been like transformed into like a voice and a whole person inside your head. And those three accompany you through the whole game, and you get to know them very well. Wow, I completely ran out of time. You meet a woman who's a pulp writer, and she's very beautiful, and I love her.
And time.
90 seconds. And time.
Yeah. That is pretty much
I think that about covers it. That's the main stuff.
Yeah, so this game is very, as we had mentioned, it's very inspired by Disco Elysium, which is, of course, known for a lot of its political content and literary style, which is different from a lot of role-playing games, as well as its strange and very sort of unexpected dialogue and ridiculous amount of player choices. Disco Elysium also has a skill system where each skill is a voice in your head. Lovely Lady RPG echoes this skill system, but on a much smaller scale, where in Disco Elysium you have, I don't know, like 25 or 20 skills or something like that. Each of them having different dialogue based on a bunch of passive skill checks that are given to you all the time, each of them speaking in their own sort of written voice. Lovely Lady RPG instead has 3 at first. And the skills that you have in Lovely Lady RPG are the Orb, Lovely Lady, and Nasty Girl.
I pulled this little quote because I loved it so much. Describing this book from the beginning of the game, it says, "A memory stirs. The book details the traits of, quote, lovely ladies and, quote, nasty girls, and helps one decipher which archetype most fits themselves. It is short, little more than a pamphlet, for it has very little substance." And those are the people that you spend the whole game with. And there's like they talk about themselves quite a bit in this opening segment.
Yeah, you will get to know Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl very much. Yeah. How do you feel about Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl?
I have a lot of opinions about them. I want to hear your 90-second summary before I do that, because I'm gonna get too horny talking about Nasty Girl.
Okay. Let me start my own timer then.
Maybe we should cut that.
No, absolutely.
I don't know
not.
if I want that. I don't know if I want that on the. My transgender women out there, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
All right, I am gonna start my timer now.
Okay.
You play as Ghost. Ghost is a transgender rat. One day, Ghost, while organizing her bookshelf, a meteoric orb, all-knowing and cosmic, crashes through your ceiling, leaving a giant hole in your roof, embedding itself into your chest, splintering ribs and whatnot. And from that point on, the orb, Lovely Lady, and Nasty Girl exist in your brain and will constantly talk to you, basically about everything. You have forgotten everything about who you are. You are a total amnesiac from the moment the orb buries itself in your body. And you are, as Ghost, basically just surviving day to day, trying to figure out what your place in the world is. You will, throughout the time here, meet several mentally ill transgender people who you will grow to love or have complicated feelings about, or probably both, including a pulp writer who is a communist, a woman called the Sinner who is extremely mentally ill.
Also a communist.
Also a communist, I think, and loves...
Probably.
And loves her tarot card that she has in her deck of tarot cards that she has invented in her head, and the weapon, who is a World War I veteran. My time is up.
90 seconds is not a lot of time. That's crazy. When you said 90 seconds, I was like, wow, this is highly generous. I can pack this whole game in there.
Absolutely not.
The answer is no. I would love to start with Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl. There's also a fourth voice called The Nightmare that we can get to in a minute.
Yeah.
It's important.
Let's get to
them.
But
it has a different character.
Let's get to them afterward.
Here's my opinion about Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl.
Yes.
There is I have not finished Disco Elysium. I've played probably 5 or 10 hours of it. Mm-hmm. So correct me if I'm wrong about this, but my impression is that the skills in that game are more of a tone or a perspective than they are characters. And what happens in Lovely Lady RPG is both Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl come into their own as people. You get a really good sense of like what they are like to talk to and hang out with. I was realizing by the end of the game, especially when I started my second playthrough, I was really happy to see them again. It feels like spending time with your friends. There's a nice banter. So sometimes it's like very cringy. There's some humor in this game that I think, I don't want to say doesn't land, because I think it's very effective. But there are parts of it that are like, wow, you're really talking like you spend all day on Twitter. And I really appreciated that. I thought it was it reminded me so much of like having friends in the real world, and like sometimes they annoy you, but also like they're good people and they care about the same things that you do, and it feels there's like a closeness that you develop with these two rat women through the course of the game. And I think like their origin is the thing that makes it even more compelling. Like these are shallow like archetypes. Orb says, quote, "Who are you?" Speaking to Nasty Girl, I think. You're a dumb archetype from a dumb book written by a fraud. You're just classism with extra steps.
I also have a quote from Orb about these two ladies. The one that I put down was, "Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl are just a pair of two-dimensional, irritating character archetypes that have somehow wormed their way into your brain through the magic of whatever the fuck happened when I embedded myself and half of a self-help book into your heart."
Exactly. Lovely Lady says, like at the beginning, she says, "We might have been written about in a book, but it hardly makes us fictional. We were all birthed from the divine equal in spirit, if not in hygiene, at least." I think like this is kind of the point of them, is like they reflect this kind of phenomenon of like the things that you see online are not whole, but they do live in your head. Like and this is not just like transgender online discourse type things. It's like everything in the whole world gets like buried somewhere in your head, and then it speaks to you in some way forever. And it's a really lovely combination of like there are shallow things that can make a big difference and become human, and like have feelings and love, and like that is what we're all like. It's very human for Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl to like come from a shallow place, and just like have complicated emotional lives because of that.
Do you think that Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl have complicated emotional lives?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay. I don't 100% know if I agree with you. I think that Ghost has a complicated emotional life, and I think that they exist in Ghost's brain, and therefore are wrapped up in that. I I felt a little bit less. I did not 100% throughout the entire game love Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl. Especially at the beginning, I found them very annoying. I warmed up to them.
Oh, they're really annoying. They're super
incredibly annoying.
I'm not gonna, yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all.
I warmed up to them over the course of the game, for sure.
Yeah.
But
like in a positive way. They're annoying in the way that like nice people are annoying, and like my friends are annoying sometimes. Like in the same way that I'm annoying sometimes. Like,
yeah. I guess that's true. I just felt like for a while, or at certain points, it's easy to feel to me that Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl become a little bit one note. I think that they're not always like that. I think they have interesting dialogue. I really like the moments where Lovely Lady loses her cool, you know what I mean? And sort of becomes... There's a moment that I pointed out to you while we were playing where Nasty Girl somebody knocks on your door, as will happen every morning for the remainder of the game. At 9 a.m., somebody knocks on your door and you have to go down and speak to them. The first time this happens, Nasty Girl immediately tells you to jump out the window, which I still haven't done. I don't know what happens when you jump out the window. And I was like, oh, this is just like a Nasty Girl thing. But the moment that you actually go and talk to them, it turns out to be the pulp writer, and she says that she's here to collect, which is ominous if you don't know who the pulp writer is, which you don't at the time. And Lovely Lady automatically assumes that she is a tax woman and she's here to collect taxes. And she instantly falls into the Nasty Girl thing where she's like, go upstairs and jump out the window. Which I thought was really funny. And I think there are moments like that where Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl really ring out to me as characters that are interesting to read and to see all the time. But then there are also a lot of moments where they're just kind of doing and saying a lot of the same things that they've been doing and saying for most of the game. I think that Lovely Lady is always like, oh, I'm so prim and proper, and oh, I'm so disgusted by all the sex stuff that Nasty Girl is talking about. And Nasty Girl, of course, is always saying, you should put your tongue or penis in that. And like, you know, I mean, you're right? Like they are annoying in the way that some people who I love are can be annoying, you know what I mean? But also, I didn't love them throughout the entire game, I guess is what I'm saying. I did love Orb.
I think, I love Orb. I think I did not connect so much with to Nasty Girl and Lovely Lady until the second time I played through the game. And I was like, oh, these people feel very safe to me. I want to walk back a little bit, like saying that like they feel like whole people, because I don't think that's quite true. I think they do feel like archetypes, but they are more complicated than that. Like there is something to them that has grown outside of what their original intent was, and that I found really compelling. Like whenever they do something a little bit unexpected, it feels like they are changing, they are unpredictable. That I liked that a lot. Like there's a moment like where Nasty Girl is explaining the gay pride flag, and she's like she says, I'm gonna swear, but she says the lion represents homosexuality on account of him looking kind of faggy. The box represents the blood-soaked jail cell of society, which traps the faggy lion. The yellow background, that's all piss, ladies. It represents us, the transsexuals. Piss kink. And this is like, I think I screenshotted this because I think it's the perfect representation of her being like kind of annoying, kind of embarrassing, like so horny in a way that she just doesn't need to be now in this moment. But also she is like trying to help you understand something. Like she is engaging with you about like the things that she cares about, And that is like being horny in weird ways. And that feels very human to me. It feels very like this is kind of something I would say, and then like and then a friend of mine would be like, dude, like, what are you doing? You know? That's what it feels like to me. And I appreciate having those voices in your head, because it's like, it feels like hanging out and having a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I agree. I think I agree with that. I want to walk back to what you had said before about Disco Elysium. Because you had said that Disco Elysium skills, they have like 20-ish little different voices in your head. You are right. Yeah. In Disco Elysium, those voices in your head are not characters, really. They are voices. They are perspectives. They speak differently from one another, and sometimes will bicker or argue with one another, or disagree with one another, or interject in opposite ways, which I think is interesting. But you're right, they are not characters at all. I think something that is interesting about Lovely Lady RPG is that there is no doubt these are characters. These are little people in your head. Orb specifically is a full-ass character. Orb is the cosmic meteor, all-knowing, all-seeing, who has fallen asleep at the wheel and ended up embedded in a transgender woman. And now before this point was 100% millennia and millennia of objectivity and complete understanding of the world, and is now suddenly submerged completely in total subjectivity. And that is something that I love about the Orb. I really love every time they're talking about like how suddenly they have emotions and stuff, and they don't even really know what crying is anymore because they've lost some of that objectivity that they had, but they feel it. They feel sometimes that they want to cry. And I think that stuff with Orb is really great.
One of the first things that Orb says is, whoever you used to be is gone. You, ghost, are just the dregs left at the bottom of the teacup. Have you ever seen a dead insect twitch its legs? That's you. A dead insect's leg twitch. And that's like how you meet. A couple times, like, you talk with them about like the new experience of being kind of combined into one being. And they have like mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
Which is really lovely.
Yeah. But those are your headmates throughout the game. And the first day or so of the game, the game is largely holding your hand. For the first day, just bringing you through the very basic setup of the game. It introduces you to the map, which you will use for the rest of the game to choose which action you want to do every day. You choose on the map who you want to hang out with, which place you want to visit, etc. It isn't until day 2 that the game really gets rolling. Is there anything you want to talk about specifically about day 1 before we get into like the real meat of the game?
Day 1, you meet
the weapon.
You meet the weapon, right?
Yeah.
We love the weapon.
I love the weapon.
What else happens on the first day?
Day 1, you wake up with the orb. You meet the weapon. You go for a walk in the city. And
yes.
You like, in doing so, there's sort of a weird thing that happens in doing that that's like about sort of your alienation from this place, both like as somebody who is clearly an amnesiac who doesn't know anything about the world, suddenly being thrust into this this small city on the countryside in fictional England, in furry England.
Yeah.
And there's a part of it that's like, oh, this is a nice place, but also you feel so distant and so different from everything that is happening here.
Yeah.
But I feel like the most important thing that happens on day one is meeting the weapon.
Yeah. The weapon is a shepherd. He's tending to his sheep. He's the first way you learn about like what this world is and what the people in it are like and what's been happening. He gives you like a short little debrief about like there has been a war that has recently ended that was like massively destructive. Anglia, I think.
Anglia, that's right. Thank you.
Has ended up not the loser exactly, but has kind of lost its empire, much like in England that we can think about in our world. I think like this kind of attitude of like living in the dying empire is like an extremely British kind of sentiment. So it's interesting to watch it happen like recently, like there's you meet several people who fought in the war and are still around, and remember it and have very recent experience with like what the world used to be like. There's a deep sadness to like what could have been and was lost in their lifetime throughout a number of the characters, but foremost with the weapon, who is like a disillusioned war veteran, but also like a very passionate man. Like I think he like wants the emotional connection and the vulnerability, but can't have it right now.
Yeah, I love the weapon. There's the really funny way that they introduce you to this world is by talking to the weapon as your first like external character you're actually properly speaking with. The weapon has a perspective on the world, I think, is what I would say. Yeah. You ask him a very simple question any amnesiac might ask to a person that they see, which is, where are we? And he says, and I'm just going to read from here.
It's so good. Yeah.
The weapon thinks for a moment, the straw in their mouth growing ever closer. Oh, I think I've been saying he. I think they might use they. Anyway, the weapon says... It says, the weapon thinks for a moment, the straw in their mouth growing ever closer to mush through their idle musings. I'll tell you where we are. We're in the time between catastrophes, the edge of Armageddon, the minute before midnight, the moment before the horns sound and the walls crumble. Oceania has nearly perfected the bomb, and the Soviet Republic cannot be far behind. We're all going to die. Anglia is dying, a slow death, a death through 1,000 dry wheezes, the kind of death that euthanasia exists to save the blighters in my field from. He is so melodramatic. It's so funny. He goes on and on to tell you all about how all of the great powers in this world are building nuclear bombs. I don't think they say the word nuclear bomb, but they're building the bomb, I think is probably what he says. The weapon is an ex-soldier and now a shepherd. They fought in the Great War and have lots of unformed thoughts about the upper class being evil and how they would rather see the world burn than concede to communism, and how the communists would do the same than concede to the free market. They are a doomsday prepper, as will come up later, which is really funny. I don't know if you got the ending for the weapon at any point, did you?
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The achievement, the gamer achievement that you get for doing the weapon ending is called the Doomer, which is great.
One of my favorite little details about the doomsday prepping is that he's not very good at it.
No.
He's got all this rice and like nutrient like mix, and it turns out that like he is not included, like there's no water to boil it, and then the nutrient mix that he's been buying is, this is spoilers, is like made of like sawdust, and he has a very moving moment where he realizes this, and he's really embarrassed. He says, "To think I'd fall for this brain dead shit. Idiot, fucking idiot. As pliable now to this charlatan as I was to high command." And then they say soon after, "Can you blame me for catastrophizing? We stand on the brink. Would things be different if I could see it, I wonder? Would people like you understand if over blue hills the bomb hovered, frozen in the air, never more than a few moments from killing us?" He has this like, they have this like very melodramatic and beautiful insight, and also like a little bit of naivete, which is, I think, a really lovely little character choice. It humanizes them so well.
They tell you all of this stuff about the world being at war, and about their time in the war, about the incoming doom that is going to come to the earth, born from divine fire. They talk a lot about the bomb. They tell you all about a supervolcano at the heart of a dead zone in the Soviet Republic, which is extremely funny. They describe it as a festering wound to a country in the grips of civil war. And they tell you all of this stuff, and eventually you have to be like, okay, that's really cool. Where are we? You're obviously, I think part of the line is like, you're obviously very clever, but I did mean it literally. Like, where are we? And eventually they tell you you're in a place called Blue Hills, a little town in Anglia. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff to dig into here. I really love the supervolcano at the heart of the Soviet Republic. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Also, I think there's like a comment by Orb around then where they say like, "Oh, the Civil War is like over. Like he like the weapon is ill-informed about this."
Yes,
and that's something that happens a few times. Is like they've gotten something kind of wrong, which I think is very cute.
Yeah, the Orb tells us specifically that the Civil War actually ended some time ago, but Western propagandists like to exaggerate the conditions of the Soviet Republic. That's not an exact quote, but that's basically what they say. The weapon tells you about how there was a volcano at the heart of the Soviet Republic that once exploded and brought about a dark age. And they also describe that we are going to mimic this sort of with the bomb by stealing the divine fire from the world and ushering in our own dark age. This is our introduction to the world of this game, which is nuclear fire and darkness. It's really great. I love the weapon. I really could talk to the weapon in this game all the time. Did you interview the weapon for your article about a war hero?
I tried to interview the weapon, and I said something wrong, and they were like, "Go away. I don't want to talk to you."
They, I don't know if it's in this section, but they basically told me that they are missing an eye. They have an eye patch, and they told me that they got their eye intentionally cut out so that they could leave the war. Did you see this?
No.
They got their eye cut out, and if you sort of ask them about it. No, it's not even if you ask them about it. The Orb puts this together for me. The Orb is like, I just had an extremely clever idea, or extremely clever thought. Neuroses are firing off in the Orb's brain right now. And they're basically, the Orb says, like, I think that it was somebody in Blue Hills who did this. And it turns out it was the Raven who cut out the weapon's eye.
Really?
Yeah. The Raven is a butch mechanic who is also a war veteran. So they know each other. And the Raven cut out the weapon's eye at the weapon's request so that they could go home from the war. And that's how they lost their eye. So that's really fun. There's another thing I want to point out about this conversation, which is not going to be entirely clear why I'm pointing this out now, but will be clear later. The orb and the weapon, I think, are underlining some of the themes of this game, I feel like. When I ask the weapon, when I ask the orb why this guy is so upset, the orb says, they've seen behind the facade. Why toil pointlessly with feigned civility? It only hides savagery. And then earlier in the conversation, the weapon also says, I'm just going to read this. The weapon says, I have no doubt that we will see the bombs fall in our lifetime. It seems unthinkable for most, but I know they could do it if they wanted to, just as we unshackled ourselves from morality with mustard gas, our forebears with gunpowder, and our earliest ancestor with a very sharp rock or something. Ghost says, if I were one of these rival superpowers, I would simply give peace a chance and nod wisely. And the weapon says, the naivety of those who did not fight, who saw nothing of the teeth and the claws. The teeth and the claws is an idea that's going to come back later.
Yeah, big time.
Big time.
Also, in that interaction, right after they say, we'll see the bombs fall, I think Orb says they don't, because Orb can sort of see the future, or because they have like an objective history sometimes when it's convenient. And I think Orb says like the bombs will not fall, like it doesn't happen, nuclear war doesn't come to pass. Everything that the weapon is talking about is like very possible and very real, but it's also not hopeless, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think they have kind of made up their mind that like things, like good things will not happen, but it is still, I think, undecided, you know?
Yeah, it says on this, it says the weapon says, it will be our hand that brings about the next dark age that plunges us all into the depths of a greater, even deader dead zone. Oceania would rather see the world burn in nuclear fire than surrender itself to communism, and the Soviet Republic feels much the same about the free market. And the orb interjects in my playthrough and says, Oceania tests their first atom bomb in 1932, the Soviet Republic in 1933, the Central African Corvid Commune tests one in 1937, King, Anglia, and Frankreich don't build any until the 40s. The Kingdom of Scandinavia builds one in the 90s by accident somehow. And Ghost says, do they ever use them on each other? And Orb says, no, they are only ever used recreationally. Which is a really funny joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's 100% true. The bombs are not falling. Which is good, I guess.
Yeah. But it does hover, you know, like it is
yes,
hanging over everyone and everything in this game.
They're absolutely right. The weapon is absolutely right when they say, like, you know, would you feel more strongly about this if you could see it hovering in the air just waiting to go off, you know?
They also make you play this like German board game.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's so, I kept trying to figure out, I read like the instructions on like how to play the board game so many times and I could not figure it out. And I saw there's like an achievement that I did not get that is like win the board game. So apparently it's possible to win, but I did not win.
I did not win either. I flipped the board because I thought that was the only option I had.
It goes on for a long time. If you like only pick like the valid options, it goes on for a long time. And then he's like, they're like, oh, I won. Very calmly.
It's very funny. If you ask, when this is like much later in the game, the weapon invites you in for tea after you find their missing sheep, Parsnip, which is their favorite sheep.
Yeah.
I love Parsnip. The scene where you find Parsnip is actually very, very beautiful to me.
Yeah. It is.
You wake up on day 4 and they knock on your door, the weapon does, to ask you to go and rescue their sheep. And Ghost immediately says, oh, I have a quest now. I need to go questing. And
yeah.
We go and find Parsnip. Parsnip is hiding in the weapon's secret survival bunker, which is full of rations, which, like you had mentioned before, is made of sawdust that is being sold to them by some sort of charlatan. um, and the image of Parsnip we see is this image of Parsnip, this little sheep, just in between these shelves in a bunker, this golden light sort of pouring from above. They are gently eating rations off of the floor. I love the art in this game in general. I think that the art is like really varied in a way that is really interesting. It's not all necessarily just in one style, but this image of the sheep really spoke to me for some reason. It feels almost, I don't know, it feels almost like religious somehow. It's like an image that would appear in the sinner's dream and on her cards, which is, I'm sure, something we'll get into later. Just this little sheep sitting in this survival bunker, so peacefully eating the survival rations of this deeply, deeply sad person.
Yeah.
But anyway, the weapon eventually invites you to play a board game in their home, and it's a board game with incredibly complicated rules. And when you ask the weapon, like, okay, how do you play? They say, okay. And then the next line of dialogue is the largest line of dialogue in the entire game. It's like the entire sidebar full of text just covered with rules, mostly in German. It's
really difficult to parse.
Yeah, and it's very funny. Any other thoughts about the weapon right now before we move on?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I love them. I would kiss them. I don't think you can kiss them, but I would if it were possible. And then day one, for the most part, is just sort of like a tutorial day. And the day really starts with day two. At the end of day one, we have a nightmarish sort of dream sequence where we are introduced to the nightmare. The nightmare is a dysphoria character. They're the fourth and final voice in our head that we're introduced to. They are just doing transphobia. Their whole character is just doing transphobia to you. The nightmare shows you images of a rat in a ceiling, all tied up and grotesque, and they're slowly lowered down so you can eventually see the full shape, and it tells us, like, that's you. And throughout the game, it will continue to tell you about your tufts of facial fur or accuse you of not being a real woman or whatever. It's just doing transphobia to you. How do you feel about the nightmare?
I have mixed feelings about it. I think in one sense it's interesting, like, confront the player with this without a lot of guidance. Like, there's not much of like a mechanical impact or decision-making impact of the nightmare. They're mostly just there to like sort of give you a sense of this is something going on in Ghost's head, and also like ask the player, like, how are you going to deal with this emotionally? Like, what is the role-playing opportunity here? What did you think?
I think that it's interesting. I don't love it, and by that I mean it's uncomfortable. Like I said, it's mostly just saying and doing transphobia at you. It tells you to kill yourself several times. I think it's interesting that this is there are 4 voices in your head and also 4 corresponding stats. They are Lovely Lady, Nasty Girl, the Orb, and the Nightmare. At the beginning of the game, the very first choice that you're given is to choose one of 3 smells as for like what the world smells like when you first wake up, and those options are like perfume, cigarettes, or the cosmos, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And those obviously very clearly map onto Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl and the Orb. And whichever one you choose sets your level for that from 5 to 10. If you choose cigarettes, like I did in my first playthrough, you are level 10 in Nasty Girl and level 5 in Lovely Lady and the Orb. The Nightmare is also level 5, and it is the 4th skill and 4th sort of voice in your head that you hear. I think it's interesting that the nightmare is the only voice in your head that does not come from this sort of cosmic accident that starts the game. The nightmare just exists in your brain. It's been hiding there until the moment you remember that you need to take hormones and that you're transgender.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that if you get hormone, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure if you get hormones and if you take your hormones, the nightmare goes away. They stop having dialogue, which I think is fun and weird. But
I think that's true. Yeah. I did that on my first playthrough.
Taking hormones was the very last thing I did on my first playthrough. So I can't 100% be sure about that, but
I would love to talk about the gender clinic scene next, if you want to do that.
I did do the gender clinic scene. I did the gender clinic scene twice in my first playthrough.
Wait, you like went back and did it again?
So the nightmare tells you that you have, on day 2, you have an appointment with a gender clinic. Day 2 starts. Day 2 is, like I had mentioned earlier, when the game really like hits the road. It's sort of the mechanical crux of the game. Each day you have 6 actions, basically allowing for 6 events every day. There's a map of the town, which you use to pick different events you can go to, and they make it very difficult to do everything you want to do on a blind first playthrough. At the beginning of day 2, a character called the Pulp Writer knocks on your door and informs you that you have a job writing for a local paper. Which we forgot about because of amnesia. We are tasked with writing an interview about a great war hero and writing it by the end of the day and then turning it into her, which means either making something up or actually interviewing somebody who was in the war. We're also told by the nightmare that we have an appointment with a public gender identity clinic and that we've been waiting for 5 years to go to this appointment. We have to fix a hole in our roof because that is where the orb crashed through, which means getting a hammer, a plank, and some nails. If you are a person who wants to look, quote unquote, presentably female for the gender clinic, which is what they suggest to do, you have to shave and wash up and make yourself look presentable. You have a feeling in your chest, in your body, brought to you by a dream sequence that you continue to have about a golden light that is drawing you to the church so you can go bathe in the ambiance. There's also several other places to go. Nasty Girl wants to hunt cryptids in the woods, which I never got to do. There are monuments and parks in town for you to explore. There's a movie theater, which I never went to. There's a Dutch guy doing a sex party who's a chaser. And there's all of this stuff to do, but you have 6 actions per day in 4 days, so it makes it impossible to do everything in one playthrough. But like we had mentioned, one of those things is the gender identity clinic. Before we get into the gender clinic, I want to talk about what happened to me at the very beginning of day 2, because it very cleanly maps onto my very first experience with Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
In Disco Elysium, there's a very similar opening. Disco Elysium is a game about an amnesiac cop who drinks himself basically half to death and then wakes up realizing that he doesn't know anything about his life anymore. In the hotel room that you wake up in Disco Elysium, you can do a whole bunch of things. In Disco Elysium, I had set my stats such that I had really low physique, which meant I had low health. And so the very first thing I tried to do was reach up to the ceiling fan to get my tie off of it. And I had my character in Disco Elysium had a heart attack and died instantly, and I had to restart the game. And this was my very first experience with Disco Elysium, which I thought was really endearing at the time. At the very beginning of day 2, I also died. Did this happen to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
This happened to me later, but yeah, did you die in the bath?
I tried to... There's a reoccurring joke that happens throughout the game all the time where they keep saying, like, you have to fix your roof or else you're going to catch your death of cold. People constantly say the phrase catch your death of cold in this game. And so in my notes, the moment day 2 started, the first thing I thought was like, I swear to God, man, by the end of this, I'm going to catch my death of cold. And then I tried to take a bath because I was like, let me wash up a little bit. I want to let me start my day in a way that is, a little bit nice and whatever, and let me make myself look presentable and whatever. So the first thing I did in the morning on day 2 was I tried to take a cold bath. I tried to take a warm bath actually, but I dropped the buckets of hot water, and I couldn't. You can't take a warm bath, I guess. And because I hadn't fixed the hole in my roof, I caught my death of cold. I died in my bathtub. I got an achievement called Burr that said, "Fix your fucking roof, idiot." and then I died, which is it was very funny to me because it was very much mirroring my experience with Disco Elysium.
That is really funny. Yeah, I think the first time I took a bath, I survived. I had a nice hot bath, but like on my second playthrough, there's an option while you're in the bath to pretend you're a crab, and there's this lovely little like illustration of Ghost like pretending to be a crab. But if you do it for too long, the water gets cold and then you freeze to death.
That's definitely what happened to me.
Refuse to get out. I think that's a really nice parallel to Disco Elysium, where it's like you die because like the world is random and cruel, and you have a heart attack when you're trying to get your tie. And this one is like, no, you spent too long like goofing around pretending to be a crab, like doing a bit.
And you just catch hypothermia because you're doing crab stuff.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the gender clinic?
Yeah, this is like I think it's one of my favorite scenes. It's this tremendous piece of like, it's one of the more science fiction kind of parts of it. Like when you walk into the gender clinic, there's this illustration of it looks like Blade Runner.
It does.
This like extremely high ceiling, and there's a receptionist who's like not exactly hostile, but not helpful. And you enter this room, and there's kind of like a medical chair with a spotlight on it in the middle of a dark room. It's very scary, very intimidating. And the doctor who you need to get your hormones from like asks you like a series of increasingly invasive questions, like ending in some like really intense, heavy stuff. And this scene, I think, is like, I was looking at the comments on the itch page. Someone commented, quote, "I'm not gonna lie, the whole scene with the NVKD doctor kind of messed me up. He was such a creep that I had to keep reloading to try and beat him. Tried like 10 times and couldn't. Then it just sort of hit me how bad things were for girls in the past. I can't be more thankful that my gender doctor was so kind and accepting. I'm honestly afraid to keep playing." And then one of the developers, Dust Kunst Collective, replied, "Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but while the game is set in the past, it is about the present."
Yeah.
And it's funny, like I have had obviously not experiences quite as bad as this, but like there is a feeling in a lot of situations as a transgender where you are trying to give the right answers.
Yes.
And this is true of like a lot of medicine, but I think like especially when the stakes are so high, it has perfectly recreated that feeling of like you are taking a test. And the thing I thought was interesting was like I aced the test first try, and I was like,
Did you?
I was answering all the questions, and I was like, immediately, without even considering it, I was like, I'm going to get the hormones. I am going to figure out what the right thing to say is. And that was my only priority. And I talked to the orb about like what was true. And then I made all of my decisions in order to like try to get the hormones, right? Which is like one way to approach that in real life is to like disregard the truth in order to like achieve your ends. Which is also like what a game is, you know, like you're trying to optimize for like an outside goal. I think it was a really beautiful pairing of video game narrative, like choice driven kind of science fiction play with like the choices that you make in real life in order to achieve your goals. And it was difficult. Like, it was the way that you slowly realize this guy is like getting some kind of sexual pleasure out of it. Like, there's a perversion to it, and it's unclear exactly what the nature of it is. But it's like wildly uncomfortable, in a way that I thought was really tender and deftly done.
Yeah, I love the gender clinic scene. I think it's great. This is a fucked up world.
Yeah.
Like you had said, takes place in the past, but it's about the present. This gender clinic is so fucked up. I was thinking about this. I went to the doctors recently because I had to do some paperwork to submit my paid family medical leave stuff for disability to my employer. And I was thinking about this scene the whole time. It actually turned out to be really easy for me specifically, but I was thinking if I couldn't stop thinking about this scene because I was like, what am I going to have to say to get my doctor to agree to sign this form that will allow me to, get the accommodations I need at work. It is so fucked up. This gender clinic is a perverted place where they investigate you to see if you deserve to get what you need. I did not get my hormones from the public health gender clinic. I failed.
It's really difficult.
It's incredible. I didn't know it was even possible until you said that you got it. I didn't even know it was possible. I did this and I was like, oh man, especially because this is really good. This is so good. I went back. I failed the first time and I was like, oh, well, I'm just not getting my hormones the regular way. And later in the game, at one point when I was looking at the map, I had a thought that was like, hey, I just had a really dark idea. Instead of getting your hormones from the public gender clinic, which is what you're going to try to do, you can try to go to the private gender clinic because there is one of those. It would probably be expensive, but, it may be the best way or it may be a way to get your hormones. And so later on in my playthrough, I went back. I was like, let me go to the private gender clinic. And this is so funny. The private gender clinic is the exact same place. It's the same people. They just charge you money, but it's the same doctor and it's the same receptionist. You walk in and you're like, wait, this is the same place. How is this even possible?
It's so sci-fi. It's so good.
It's so funny. There is I work at a hospital. I said that earlier, but I think that is important context for what I'm about to say. When you're talking to the receptionist, she says, it's £30 for the appointment, £10 for admin costs, and £30 for the prescription each time. She rattles off these numbers like they aren't extortionate, like daylight robbery is a normal and accepted element of society. That hit close to home for me. But also, while I was reading that, I was going, oh, fuck, I'm not going to be able to pay rent. So
yes, exactly.
I went back and I paid the £40 to go in, and he just asked me all the same questions again, and I tried to answer differently, and I still didn't get my hormones this way. Can we take just a couple minutes? I have to go and grab my cat and bring her in my room.
I was just thinking that. Let's take a little break.
Yeah.
I want to get some water and stuff.
Okay, let's take 5.
Come back.
We will
and
come back.
Reconvene.
Yes.
Say mama. I had to go get my cat. Awesome.
Yeah.
I made some tea.
Oh, amazing. That sounds lovely. What kind of tea?
It's like vanilla black tea. It's really bad.
Oh, good.
But I bought the tea from the store, so gonna drink it all.
Cool.
But I'm not too happy about it.
Well, I'm sorry about your bad tea, but
That's okay. It's not that bad.
cool. I'm not really the biggest tea person in the world.
You're a big you're a cocoa head. I've watched you had hot cocoa a few times.
I do
every time
love-
you do it. I'm like, damn. I wish that was me having a hot cocoa. That looks awesome.
I do love a hot chocolate. I am a hot cocoa
Awesome.
girly.
We're back from our break. I have a little bit of tea. I think maybe we could talk about the pulp writer next, because
Yeah.
she is the first person that shows up.
Yes. She's the first person that
Yeah.
shows up at your door, and also, I think, probably one of the most central characters in the game.
Yeah.
I feel like this
Yeah.
is probably a good
She
time to...
So the pulp writer, you're introduced to her because you have to write an article for this paper that she works for that she thinks sucks. It's like a rag. It's filth.
She describes it as schlock.
Yeah, yeah, that's about right. And you learn over the course of getting to know her that she is like not an ex-communist, but like she's a communist who used to be very active in like organizing and doesn't anymore. And one of the main reasons is because she has rabies, which is, I think, not like strictly what rabies is in the real world, but it's like a debilitating illness. She coughs a lot. She has trouble like breathing and getting around. There is sort of always on the horizon like this threat of the disease getting worse, and she's also writing this magazine that she doesn't care much about. The thing that I really love about the pulp writer is that she has kind of lost a little bit of hope in the world. Like her sort of driving force of like organizing and communism has been taken away from her. Part of this is like represented through the illness. Part of it is also because she has a book that she wrote, that I think a novel, that we can get into more later, but she believes it to be a failure.
She hates this book.
She hates this book. She describes this encounter, and I didn't screenshot it, but she describes this encounter she had with someone who read the book and like grossly misunderstood it, and she felt like deeply disheartened by that, and now feels like there isn't much for her to do. She talks a bit about moving to Iberia, which is like where she believes the real communist future is. But I think there is, and this is something that is present and basically in the weapon and in the pulp writer, and also in the third major character that we're going to talk to. There's this sort of sense of delusion where like they are talking about doing something in the future that is probably not going to happen, that is like pretty unrealistic, and that they are pinning a lot of their hopes and future on. And I think this is a really interesting example because my experience of this was like, I feel for her very deeply. She's a kind person. Like she really believes in justice, and she likes you. And you have like a very, very deep emotional connection with her, and you want to be on her side and like believe her that like, yeah, let's like go to the communist utopia, like you're gonna make it. But there is kind of an implicit understanding that like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think like being able to be like the love and the joy in her life and like provide her with the hope, like they mention a few times that like it is surprising to her like how intimate this connection is. Being able to give that to her, I found like really, really moving. And I also think she's a good writer. I don't know if they ever quote the book, but she does like a pretty extensive description of it. And it sounds really interesting. I was into it. What was
I
your
would love
impression
to
of
read
the
her book.
pulp writer? Yeah, I would love to read her book.
I'm so curious about her book. I love the pulp writer. I think that the pulp writer, her storyline contains a lot of the most interesting stuff in this game, in my opinion. She is introduced at the beginning of day 2. She comes to your door and knocks and tells you that you have to write a article for this schlocky paper that you both work at and she hates. And
It does suck. Like, she's right about
it does
this.
seem
Like,
to suck. The fact that they're having you interview a war hero to write about heroes of the Great War, it sounds bad. It sounds like a really shitty, schlocky paper. So she's great. You grow closer to the pulp writer by writing and doing your job, and in doing that, she grows to trust you more because there's like a bit where you, like on the third or fourth day or whatever, when you turn in your second article, which is a piece of short fiction to her. After you turn in the first one, she reads through it and she's like, oh, this is a well-researched piece. The second one that you turn into her, she doesn't read through, and it specifically says like, oh, well, she doesn't read it because she trusts that you actually did the job. And this is like sort of how you grow closer to her, as you continue to like go to her apartment to turn in your written work for your job, and she'll pay you. She is not your boss, despite the fact that it does seem like she's your boss, because she's giving you, she's giving you assignments and she's giving you your paycheck and stuff. She refers to the boss that the two of you have as like some dickhead boss. You never learn his name. You just know he's a dickhead. She also hates the editor, which I think is really funny. She hates the editor of this magazine.
I think I do want to clarify. I think she is kind of your boss. There is a line where one of the options is, when you're about to kiss her for the first time, one of the options is, I'm a communist too. I would kiss you, but you're my boss, and I'm not a fan of uneven power dynamics. And the option below that is, I'm a communist too. Can I kiss you? I know you're my boss, but as a fan of uneven power dynamics, I think it'd be hot.
Yes. Did you click on that option?
Did I? Let me see.
Because I in my second playthrough, I think I clicked on that option with her, and she basically just said, I'm not your boss, right?
Oh, that's really funny. No, I didn't. I clicked, I'm a communist too.
She basically says, I'm not your boss, really I'm a glorified mailbox. You can kiss me if you want to, Ghost, or something like that.
That's really funny.
Yeah. That's a great...
That's hilarious, because Ghost is under the impression, and I was under the impression that she was your boss.
Yeah, no, not at all.
That's hilarious.
She's just basically telling you, being like the middleman between you and the editor and you and your dickhead boss. But yeah, the second time that you go to her apartment is, I think definitely my favorite scene in the game.
Yes, absolutely.
This is, you show up in her apartment, and her apartment is a total mess. There is, wallpaper torn off the wall. There's stuff in piles and destroyed, just like random stuff just all around the apartment. And yeah, eventually she reveals to you, like, her apartment is like this because she at some point got rabies, and she was stuck in her room just like feeling primal fear that drove her to destroy everything around her, in a flurry of, as she says, teeth and claws and teeth and claws and teeth and claws. But she reveals this all to you in what I would say is the first quote-unquote romance scene in the game that I experienced.
Yeah.
It's like... you're talking for a while. You show up the second time, and she is on a lot of drugs, and she invites you into your home to talk to her while she does drugs, basically. She tells you all about how she wants to move to La Repubblica, the Socialist Republic, because she's the Soviet Republic, rather, because she's a communist. She says, only now I have been talking to you, I feel perhaps I should stay here just a little longer. Could it be I am lonely more than I am downtrodden? She is... I
wrote that quote down too. I think it's so...
Yeah, it's great. She's a communist. She is from Paris, which this game calls Paris because they're all furries, which I think is really funny.
They mentioned also a few times that she... plays up the accent a little bit because you like it.
Oh, really? I don't think I
hilarious.
remember that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she likes Ghost because she thinks Ghost is surprising and a little bit peppy. and you have that line of dialogue that you had. I'm going to read all of these because I think they're funny. I'm a communist too, and you kiss her. Or I'm a communist too, I would kiss you, but you're my boss and I'm not a fan of uneven power dynamics. Or I'm a communist too, can I kiss you? I know you're my boss, but as a fan of uneven power dynamics, I think it'd be hot. Or I'm a communist too. You should rethink some of the aspects of your specific ideology though. Or the last option, I'm not a communist. I got kicked in the head by a sheep when I was a baby, by the way. This is very funny. It's like, honestly, it's one of the times where you have the most dialogue options. Usually you have like 2 or 3, but it's like suddenly you have 5, which is very funny. And yeah, you kiss her, and there's a little scene that I think is really, I don't know, it's just it's a lovely moment. It's very real and intimate. You have this like weird moment where you get the idea to have her she smokes so many cigarettes. You get the idea to have her put her cigarette out on you, and you can say like, please put your cigarette out on me, or please don't put your cigarette out on me. I chose like, don't do that. And she like blinks 3 times and is like, I wasn't going to do that. And then she instead offers to do knife play stuff. She is extremely high and clumsy and scary, but she pulls the pocket knife out, and you get into doing some knife play stuff, basically, which is really fun. Ghost does some homosexual little whimpers. This is something you can't say no to, but
yeah,
it's something...
This is my favorite part of the scene. I think it's a fascinating choice.
Yeah.
To like not give the player the ability to say no. And it's like my favorite thing about it. Like the choice stopped being like, which of the dialogue options am I choosing? And it became like, do I want to play through this part in the game? It sort of removed it from like a choice that Ghost is making, because we know who Ghost is. Ghost would say yes to this.
Yeah.
And it became like, do I, the player, want to go through with this? And it reminded me a lot of like BDSM kind of stuff, and I think it made it like super personal. And it's a difficult choice. It's like a little bit coercive. Raising the stakes like that in this scene like really hits the emotional core, especially like afterwards when it's like you've finished, and right after this scene she like falls asleep on you, and then you talk about her book for a little bit, and there's this like emotional catharsis, because like you went through something like really intense with her.
Yeah. There's
that like I wasn't sure if I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know?
There's something that I really love about this scene, which is I'm just struck by how I'm knife play is not my thing, but I'm struck by how relatable this scene is to me as somebody who has had sex with transgender women. This is just like, I don't know. It's just an exceptional romance scene. It is very good at like setting the scene and capturing the feeling of like being specifically a sort of like listless transsexual without romantic entanglements who is just sort of like you and this girl are specifically like falling for each other a lot in the scene. Yeah. And I think that is just great. It's really good romance writing. I love all of the dialogue options that you get. That is just like a casual, gentle signs of physical affection you can share with them, like getting the option to stroke her hair or hold her hand, letting her fall asleep on your chest. It's great at like it's great at showing the like feeling of someone slowly falling for you. Who among us has not like fallen for a girl because they were either weird and sickly and intimidating, or otherwise because they were peppy and strange and affectionate? That's what life is all about, you know?
That's so true.
There's a certain tension.
Like like older woman who's disillusioned and a communist. Like,
Yeah.
what's more beautiful than that? That girl would pull insane.
Exactly. There's a certain tension of like unease and desire that are both like happening hand in hand here that is just, I think, really competent writing. It's really good at like recreating the feeling of being in the home of an incredibly intimidating and sickly communist woman who you're infatuated with, which is something I think all of us can relate to.
Who's also really
so
also
high and
up.
so pointing a knife at you. It's awesome.
Yeah, I find knife play like really scary. Like I would not do it in real life. And this is like that's like part of why I liked it so much. It's like this scene. It was like play. It's like in the same way that like BDSM is play. Like it made me a little bit uncomfortable, but allowed me to like think and experience something that I would not normally. Which is like what games are all about.
That's what life is all about. I think that this stuff is great. While she's pointing the knife at you and pricking you with it and stuff like that, she is telling you in detail about her experience with rabies. And the orb is like, "Do you think this is hot?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Yeah.
It is, of course. But she's telling you basically like she locked herself in her apartment and went crazy with fury and fear and teeth. She's attacking and bleeding on the walls of her home and herself until she tells you about how men with guns come and break her teeth before they cure her. They inoculate her, I think is the word she uses. She survives, but she still regularly coughs up blood. She runs out of breath really fast. She literally like faints and falls asleep in the middle of this scene. And she also talks about how, like, I think part of her wishes that she could go back to this place of violence sometimes. This, like, place that this violence that has driven her absolutely crazy, and how so many others seem not to feel the same way. Like, how could you possibly live in this terrible world that the bourgeoisie have created and feel any differently than the, like, stark violence of her experience with rabies? She lives in hell, you know? But now she's been forced to take up the very tame role of being a schlop writer for a schlock magazine.
They bring this up a couple times, like the idea of going feral, which also dovetails really nice with the furry thing.
Yes.
But like there's a scene like in the woods, I think when you're searching for the cryptid, where like one of the options is to like go feral and run around, and they use that word. And then after a minute, it's like, okay, you have to come back to real life. And scenes like that happen a couple times where it's like the teeth and claws, the like loss of like conscious mind, and then kind of the inevitability of coming back to it.
She also specifically asks Ghost near the end of this scene, like, don't you ever feel the same way? Don't you ever like feel... Don't you want... I think what she says is, don't you ever want to go sickos? Which is really funny. But also, like, yeah, of course I want to go sickos. I want to go sickos all the time.
Yeah.
I want to gnash and destroy everything that exists. It's so terrible. And I just love this scene. I love it so much. I love this, that the knife play here is like also this sort of violence that is inside of her and this violence that is inside of class society. This violence that in a way she sort of craves, you know? I have some thoughts about communism related to this scene.
Tell me about your thoughts about communism.
So this game takes place in early 1920s. Something that the pulp writer says, a word that the pulp writer says several times here is barbarism, which is just such a lovely communism thing going on with her. I don't know if you're familiar at all with a German Marxist, Rosa Luxemburg, but she wrote...
I've heard of her. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? My friend has her book.
Which one?
On
Do you know?
His shelf. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Rosa Luxemburg wrote a pamphlet while she was in prison for protesting the Great War at the time. She wrote this in 1915. It's called The Crisis in the German Social Democracy. We now call this pamphlet the Junius pamphlet because she wrote it at the time under the pen name Junius to avoid more persecution. She wrote here about barbarism. She says, Friedrich Engels once said, "Bourgeois society stands at the crossroads, either transition to socialism or regression into barbarism." What does regression into barbarism mean to our lofty European civilization? Until now, we have all probably read and repeated these words thoughtlessly, without suspecting their fearsome seriousness. A look around us at this moment shows what the regression of bourgeois society into barbarism means. This world war is a regression into barbarism. The triumph of imperialism leads to the annihilation of civilization. At first, this happens sporadically, for the duration of a modern war, but then when the period of unlimited wars begins, it progresses towards its inevitable consequences. Today, we face the choice exactly as Friedrich Engels foresaw it a generation ago. Either the triumph of imperialism and the collapse of all civilization as in ancient Rome, depopulation, desolation, degeneration, a great cemetery, or the victory of socialism, that means the conscious, active struggle of the international proletariat against imperialism and its method of war. I just think that this is sort of relevant to thematically what is going on with the pulp writer, since the pulp writer is so much about this, and also the weapon spoke about this earlier, seeing past the artifice of society and seeing into the barbarism that lies at the heart of capital. We know from history that barbarism won in Germany. In 1914, the leaders of the SPD, which is the Social Democratic Party, supported the German war effort in the Great War, what we now call World War I, along with socialist parties of most other nations in Europe. Certain members of the leftist factions, I guess, in Germany at the time disagreed with this strongly and viewed it as a betrayal of the revolution, which leads to the founding of the Spartacus Group, which is the group that Rosa Luxemburg founded. This is also, I believe, why the pulp writer calls her social democrat friend Chloe a traitorous bitch, which I think is funny.
Yeah.
But basically, in 1918, in Germany, Prince Maximilian would announce that the royal family would abdicate the throne, and he abdicated the throne and handed power to a provisional republic under the SPD, the Social Democratic Party, to a political figure in the SPD named Friedrich Ebert. And the German radical left at the same time, which was mostly made up of other members of the SPD, wanted to create a revolutionary body that could overtake the provisional government in the same way that the Petrograd Soviet did in the Russian provisional government. So there was a lot of council forming at the time, which is to say, like, making Soviets and whatnot. But it's complicated by the fact that both sides of this, like, socialist conflict within Germany during the end of World War I were filled with SPD party members. Everybody was social democrats. Even the communists were part of the Social Democratic Party. And this was eventually the thing that led many people in Germany to found the KPD, which is the Communist Party of Germany. In 1919, there was mass demonstrations that got way bigger than the Communist Party of Germany had planned. And because the war was over, it allowed a lot of the German military to return to Germany. So during this great conflict, this big demonstration, the Free Corps were rolled out by Ebert to swiftly put down what we call the German Revolution. The Free Corps, in numbers of like 3,000 or something, marched into Berlin and murdered or executed between 150 and 200 people. Everyone else surrendered. A week later, Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht were found in a hotel room. They were taken, interrogated, and tortured by the Free Corps, and then both of them were executed. And that was the end of the German Revolution. And the Free Corps were later demobilized, but were put into use once again by the Nazi Party of Germany to brawl against local communists and socialists and break up meetings. And we now generally call people like this brown shirts. So that, I think, is sort of important political context to think about when you're thinking about the pulp writer. There's something that the pulp writer says here. It says, "You see what you are when everything you are has been stripped away. There is no passion or empathy or art or life. There is only fear. Your eyes see the world around you, but it is not a world for you. There is only one way to respond to that fear ghost: barbarism. Teeth and claws and teeth and claws and teeth and claws." I just think that that is sort of relevant to this time. This barbarism that she talks about both exists within her, but also within the state of the world at the time. If you want to hear more about the German Revolution in 1918 and 1919, I highly recommend the Revolutions podcast episode covering it. Revolutions is my favorite history podcast. But I also mention this stuff to demonstrate the thematic situation the pulp writer is all about, but also to say another thing about the histories in this world. We hear a lot of proper nouns around country names, which countries developed which bombs, which countries are at war, which countries cover which systems, etc. But I would have liked to hear more history out of this game. I think that the history we hear is really kind of non-specific, which is fun in a sense, but is also like, I love specificity. In Disco Elysium, there are like specific historical figures and names, dates and times for revolutionary conflicts, and I feel as though we get discussions of countries and systems throughout this game, but not really the people in them at any point. I really, for example, would like to know what kind of communist the pulp writer is. What does she mean? Like, what does the pulp writer mean when she says communism? You know what I mean? I still don't really know. I think about the communist book group in Disco Elysium. They're a book group that you can join if you pick enough communist dialogue options. And I know from playing that game that those guys are inframaterialists. That is not real in the real world, but that is the type of communist that those guys are. They talk about Krasmazov. They talk about Ignace Nilsson. These are people and ideologies that aren't real, but are placed historically and materially in the world of Disco Elysium. There are people who made the laptop that I'm using right now, machines that helped make that laptop, machines that were also made by people. And before that, they were resources that were mined out of the ground, probably in conditions we generally don't want to think about. Karl Marx, in the real world, was a poor German man and a journalist living in London, whose main source of income was his boyfriend Engels. And Lenin was a middle-class student whose brother was executed by Tsarist authorities. Which is to say, I guess, that history and material conditions and relationships speak, and they have a lot to say. And this game is an alternate history, but I feel that it doesn't do a lot of history in it. I really want to know more when I see her talking about Paris, when I see her talking about the Eiffel Tower, or the Eiffel Table, I think is what they call it. Yeah. I want to know so much more about that, and I understand that I think I'm probably asking too much in some situations.
I think that's true. I see what you're saying. I think I also appreciate, there's something I like about this game, especially is like I'm not like well read, or I don't spend a lot of time like reading about this. And I think that is reflected in Ghost, because like the character a lot of the time doesn't really know what people are talking about, especially in relationship to the pulp writer. And I think like ignorance of like historical events and ignorance of like what people really believe and why is like very realistic. Like it connects me to the pulp writer in a way that I really like. When she's talking about this person that misunderstood her book, it's not like an antagonistic moment. It's like this reader is saying like, oh, I liked your book, it was about like the shells falling, and then the pulp writer is like, she didn't understand it, it was not in historical materialist like context, everything that I wrote is for nothing, which like is true in some sense to that person, but I there is something I really enjoyed about like not knowing much and like trying to muddle through the world anyway. I think it ends up prioritizing the relationships that you have with people. Definitely, over all else, which I think is like what the game is about at the very end. And like that love and interpersonal stuff. But I guess I see what you mean. I see what you mean. And
yeah, I guess what I mean specifically with the pulp writer is I want to hear more of like her perspective on the world.
Yeah.
I think that we get certain things that are important. We should talk about her book, for example. Yeah. Her book is about in Paris, um, it's so ridiculous saying Paris.
Yeah.
In Paris, instead of an Eiffel Tower, they have an Eiffel table. They built a big.
Were you able to
Sorry?
figure out if this was a novel or if it was something that happened?
I thought it was a novel.
Okay, I think it is a novel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my understanding of it.
Yeah.
She tells you about her book. Instead of an Eiffel Tower in Paris, they have an Eiffel table. They built a big fucking table. It's a square mile wide. The whole thing holding itself up over the city. It is a place where rich people live, literally and metaphorically placed above the rest of the city, above the poverty of Paris.
It's a real Final Fantasy VII.
It's literally Midgar.
Yeah.
I was just going to say pretty much the same thing. They built Midgar. And this is not anything that is necessarily new. There was a book that I wanted to mention. City of Bones by Martha Wells is a sci-fi book that is, it's okay. But it's also about it's not specifically the same thing, but it's like about a layered city that is like class-based in much the same way. This is a really common sci-fi thing. Or fantasy thing to have like a class society that is literally that is made literal in the structure of the like architecture of the world that they live in.
Like the best game of all time, BioShock Infinite.
Like BioShock Infinite, the best game of all time. Everyone loves it.
Everyone loves it.
But yes, also like the other best game of all time, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, like the real best game of all time, Gravity Rush 2.
I never played that one.
It's good.
It's the best game of all time, I hear.
It's the best game of all time, some are saying.
But the table, the Eiffel table, is like an escape from the poverty of the city. There's a bunch of nice bourgeois neighborhoods on top of the table. And during the Great War, when what they called coalition bombs fell in the war, thanks to the cheap labor and materials the table was built out of, the structure began to fall apart. And it didn't collapse. It's just still falling apart. It's just like constantly in a state of disarray. And the pulp writer tells you about how she watched her friend die, being crushed by falling debris from this tower. She watched her friend Chloe literally being crushed to death under the weight of the structures of capital. And she wrote her book about this, metaphorically about the capitals literally building structures to keep the poor out, the poor out, to demonstrate their distaste for the poor, to blot out the sky, and to fall apart under its own contradictions. It's a nice little metaphor. It's really funny to imagine it existing in the real world. It is, but it's Midgar. And there is a woman that that read this book and responded to the pulp writer, went and talked to her, and she says, I'm just going to read from the pulp writer's dialogue. She says, after it was published, this lady came up to me on, I forget, but she told me, you're right, what you wrote about. And I asked what she meant, and it was on Rue de l'Arabe, that was it. She pointed upwards to the black crown above, and she says to me, it was the Boke's fault what happened. It was their shelling, and I cried. That wasn't what it was about, my book. It was about the dominance of the bourgeoisie becoming so unfathomable that it blotted out the sun and rained death on the worker. All I had wrote was for nothing. And she takes this one review pretty close to heart.
My favorite line about this is when she says, they cannot deconstruct it safely. The entire thing is a single load-bearing structure.
Yeah.
Like there is like even if there was an attempt to like change their mind about this, to like try to redeem like the Undercity in Shadow, it would be impossible. Like the only path forward is to just continue propping it up,
Yeah. Or alternatively, the only way to destroy it is to destroy it in violence, to make a great violent act that destroys both the structure and the people living underneath it. Yeah. It's a great little metaphor.
Yeah.
I really wish I could read her book.
Yeah.
And I think this is ultimately what I'm getting at, is like, I want to know so much more about her perspective and where her perspective comes from. I went and we're going to talk about some other characters here, like the Sinner and the Raven. And by the way, none of the characters in this game have names. I don't know if it's just something worth saying. Everybody is named like a title. But we're going to talk about some other characters like the Sinner and the Raven. And they're great. I like the Sinner. I didn't care for the Raven, but I just think there wasn't a lot of depth there, besides the one
I think
interaction.
something we can talk about it a little more, but something interesting with the Raven is like, I think the Raven is just not very interested in like being friends with you, which is kind of a funny thing to put in a game. It's like very real. Like I think like I've had a lot of interactions in my life where it's like you kind of get a sense that someone's like, yeah, you're nice. It's no beef, but like we're not gonna be friends. And that's their choice that they're making. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. But the pulp writer specifically, I feel, is like kind of the emotional and intellectual core of the game.
It is the one kind of thing where it's like real romance, I think. Like,
yeah,
it's like you developed like a very close, intimate, sexual, romantic relationship. In a way that doesn't really happen with anyone else.
Yeah. I would play a whole game. I would play a whole game that was just about the relationship between Ghost and the pulp writer.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, there's even more. I have a question for you, Tess.
Yeah.
What do you think about the golden light and the flaming sword? Is it a flaming sword? The golden light.
So this morning, I played through the game again.
Did you
trying to get, like, there's an ending that like references this. It's like the first little achievement. And I went to the church a bunch of times. I went out into the there's like a little chapel or like prayer place in the woods that you can go pray at. And I was not able to figure out how to advance the that like story. So I think I felt like there was something I was missing. If you go to the cathedral, you learn a lot about Saint Dawn's site. I think she's a saint.
Yes.
Marigold. Marigold is her Christian name. And the orb has a lot to say about this. She's a saint who, like, according to the Anglians, led their people out of the Dark Ages, conquered the forces of evil. But that narrative is like pretty quickly challenged. The orb like tells you like, oh, like she was one of many, and then eventually, and then you find out that her motivations were not like totally altruistic. Like she was just there to try to rescue someone in particular, and then also like she just died out there, and she was sort of made into a martyr for other people's motives, which like tracks absolutely with like real world religion. I think it's like it's a funny little metaphor. But so there's like a lot of fun like lore stuff, but I felt like there was something I was missing because you have some kind of personal connection to like the golden light and the feathers that I could not figure out.
My understanding is that you have to go to the church a lot. You have to kiss everyone that you can kiss.
Okay, that's a challenge.
And then you have to talk to Saint Marigold. This is from the guide that I found, which was literally buried like pages and pages deep in the itch.io page for this game that somebody had written down. I also, this is what I was trying to do that on my second playthrough. I wanted to see more about what the golden light stuff was, but I couldn't do it either. So I don't have a good perspective on it. I think it's a fun idea. There's a couple like moments when the pulp writer falls asleep on your chest. There's a really great line you get the opportunity to say that's like, does she too dream of the golden light? And the orb is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I honestly still don't know what that's all about. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be, I think that's going to have to be one of the mysteries of this game that I just never discover.
I've had a couple experiences. I had this with Citizen Sleeper where I did like everything there is to do in that game, and I regret it a little bit. Like there being no mystery left.
Yeah.
I think putting something down and being like, I'm just gonna leave it.
That's
how
what
it
I did
is.
with Citizen Sleeper. I got to my ending in Citizen Sleeper and the credits rolled and I was like, damn, that was a really good game. And part of me was like, I want to go back and see all the different endings and I want to see it all. But also I'm like, well, do I? Like I love that game. I would love to play it again, but I'm also like I think there's something nice about that just being the ending that I got, and it just being over. Having spent the time with it that I had and then just like moving on.
Do you want to take like a 5-minute break? I need to go pee,
Yeah, totally.
and then maybe talk about this.
You wanna talk about the Sinner a little bit?
Yeah, something that happens in this game is this is especially present in Nasty Girl too. There's a feeling that like I know women who are like this, especially like online types.
Yeah.
There is something uncomfortable about Nasty Girl that is also present in the Sinner. You meet her in church, and one of the first things that you realize is like she is trying to be cool. She's trying to impress you,
Yeah.
and part of it is endearing because she's basically a good person, and that's reinforced later when you learn more about her past and what she cares about and why. But there's a feeling that made me a little uncomfortable about like why do you care so much when I think of you? That I thought was a really nice angle on, or a nice foil to the pulp writer who like doesn't care much at all, like is sort of indifferent to it. It feels like the Sinner needs your approval, and a lot of what she does is both to reassure herself and to assure you that like she is confident and knows what's going on and she's interesting and a good person. She like does a little magic trick, I think, or she shows you some cards. She shows you the tarot card when you first meet her, right, in the church. And then that gets built upon later, where she like does a reading for you that is like kind of staged. And as it goes on, I think you realize that she is doing all of this because she needs answers. Like she is angry at herself, and she needs like some security and purpose in her life. And all of a sudden this feeling of like, oh, like why do you want this approval from me? Why do you need this so badly? Like you are given an answer, and the answer is like it's really difficult to live in this world where like bad things happen without any explanation. And that's true of like the bad things that happen with the weapon and the pulp writer. But I think the Sinner, her sort of like core trauma that is revealed is that she used to live in a mining town, and there was an explosion or some sort of accident. A bunch of the rock, there was kind of like an avalanche, and it came down the mountain and killed like more than 100 people. And she blames herself because she was buying coal from the coal mine where this happened. And so something that is functionally not her fault happened out of cruelty and capitalism, and also just randomness and like things completely outside of her control. And the approval that she's looking for is also like forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I had a big turn at the end with her where I was like, for a lot of the relationship, I felt like a little bit unsure about how to feel with it, feel about her.
It's definitely toxic Yuri.
Yeah, very toxic Yuri. There's also like a lot of kind of tooth and claws stuff that we can talk about too. But I had this realization towards the end that like she's just as lonely as anyone else, and just because you can kind of see through it better than the others, or at least just because I could see through it better than the others, I think probably because the sinner is like probably the closest to the kind of person that I am. It made me the most uncomfortable. But it was really nice to reach the end and be like, actually, like we all do deserve love, even if we're kind of crazy. I thought I was very moved by it. Not in kind of the romantic love way that I felt about the pulp writer, but like I feel like I went on the biggest journey with her. It was. I closed the game when I finished that arc, and I was like, I like laid in bed and like thought about it for a long time. I had a lot of affection for her. I wish her well.
I was not as touched by the Sinner's storyline as I was with the Pulp Raiders storyline, but I did like it. Did you notice that the Sinner is reading the Pulp Raiders book?
Yes.
That's
the Sinner
really
loves the book. It's like it's noted that like it's well thumbed through, and then there's like bookmarks or something. There's something to indicate that like she really understands it and loves it.
It's funny. Her interpretation is different from the Pulp Writers.
Really?
The orb says "Under the Black Crown" or "Sky of Thorns," roughly translated. That's the title of the Pulp Writers book in English. And it's written in French as well, but I'm not going to try to pronounce it. The Sinner reads it at least once a month. It speaks to her of a great structure built by one's own misdeeds, a great structure that topples and crushes those trapped beneath it. It is about individual responsibility for evil, about those who did not tear the structure down, she feels. That's what the orb says about the Sinner's really interpretation.
I wish I had screenshotted book. That.
I thought that was so good. The Sinner is an interesting... she's an interesting gal. She has like you said, she has a lot of like survivor's guilt about being from this town and using this coal that this town that was destroyed by its coal mining industry, literally, not even figuratively destroyed by its coal mining industry, resulting in, I imagine, hundreds of deaths.
I think they put a number on it. It's 150 something, I think.
Yeah. The Sinner, since then, has been having this recurring dream, and she has a deck of tarot cards that she has designed and painted herself, of 227 cards, 14 of which represent the angels, the cities, is what it says. The orb gives some context to this. The orb says, the 14 stars, the first constellation, the beginning of everything, and the end too. A vast calm expanse of cloud sea. One could sail across it for a year and not find themselves on its other side. It is here that the 14 cities linger on, the 13 angels and the dreamer. Where she came from, even I know not. My knowledge concerns the waking world, and so what I know from hearsay. All I know is that there are 14 cities upon high, surrounded on all sides by... Do you know what a waterfall is? Ghost says, I know waterfalls, yes. Water falls down. Orb says, well, it's not like a waterfall at all. It's more like a current, just in the shape of waterfall, and made from swinging orange and pink cloud. It is here her nightmares dwell, the detritus thrown up by your world, the dreamt evils of an idiot goddess, the mother, the sleeper, the first. We all owe our existence to her, even the 13 from the beginning of time till the day she wakes or the war in heaven kills her. But she experiences this dream over and over again, this 14 cities dream, and she created a deck of cards, 227 cards, that she uses to divine futures for people, something that I think is really, really fun. Also, the cards, you see the back of the cards, and they're literally, the backs of the cards are designed like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which is really funny. I don't know if you noticed that, but...
I did. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
She talks repeatedly about what she's looking for is something called the magenta. I did not ever find out exactly what this is. I think because I sort of tried to steer her away from it. If I'm being honest, towards the end of the game. Are you good?
Yeah, I just blew out a candle. So I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't.
You were
set off
like
my
batting
smoke
at
alarm or
something, and I
anything.
was like, "Is there a bee in your room?" Or
No, I was trying to make sure that it doesn't set off my smoke alarm or anything because I just saw a lot of smoke.
okay. The center talks about like looking for the magenta, which I never really found out what it was, but I think this is like another example of like the disaster bunker, the like prepper thing, and then the pulp writer talking about moving to Iberia, where it's like this is her way of coping. This is the dream that she has, and partially I think because I never really found out how much of the religion, like the Marigold stuff, was tied into this, like the world building. I don't have a good idea of like how true or real like I am supposed to believe this is, which I think is a really interesting place to put the player in, to be like, you like, to some extent this woman is like chasing something impossible. She keeps saying like, oh, we're gonna find the magenta in a cave and then like transcend to the other realm, which is a little far-fetched, but like when you are an amnesiac in a fantasy world, like it's really hard to know where that line is. And I think that throughout the course of your relationship with a sinner, like you get to choose how open-minded you are with her, especially because like one thing that's emphasized is when she's doing like the tarot card tricks, or not tricks, but like when she's doing the tarot card readings, the orb tells you a couple times that like she is pulling certain cards on purpose over and over, like in order to torture herself, basically. Like she has this dream, she pulls the same cards, like this is her way of coping. And so it feels you are set up to understand as like this is her way of like dealing with guilt more than like searching for truth, really. And then you know, like I said, by the end I think I sort of realized like, oh, like her wanting your approval is like her wanting forgiveness. It all ties together very beautifully, I thought.
I love the fact that she is intentionally drawing cards that she wants. She intentionally draws the cards that makes her feel bad. It's there's I don't know if you chose this dialogue option, but there's a dialogue option to like talk to her, or to call her out, not call her out exactly, but just mention the fact in front of her that you can tell that she's like drawing the cards that she wants. It's really funny. It's very like Columbo sort of style, like detective shit. Ghost says, there's just one thing bothering me. Just a small thing is all. You pull 4 cards from your deck for each reading, one of which has to be one of the 14 cities. Now, excuse me for saying this, but that seems awfully difficult to do at random. My friend Orb's really into cards, a real card shark, you know? Anyway, it's just that Orb's always telling me that it would be impossible to do that, to pull one of 14 specific cards out on command. I mean, unless I suppose you picked specific cards on purpose based on touch alone with the goal of hitting on chicks and making yourself sad. And no need to worry about it. I'm sure it's nothing. She does not like when you bring this up to her.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think I clicked that option, probably because I think it would make her sad. Like there's like this assumption that, and this is part of her like wanting to be cool, like you kind of need to play along with this, like and she wants you to believe that the thing that she's doing that's very obvious, like even before Orb mentioned it's like very clear that she's doing this intentionally, and you're sort of like implicitly encouraged to not bring it up because you can tell it would upset her, which is a funny little dynamic.
I brought it up and she was not happy with me about it.
Yeah.
She made like a scowling face and instantly the mood changed and she got really mad about it. But she still wanted me to stay. This is something that I think is really interesting about the first scene that you spend with her, like in her apartment, outside of like, because the first time you meet her in a church and she tells you very basic backstory about the town that she lived in and how it was destroyed in a coal mining disaster. And the second time you meet her, you go to her apartment because she has like snuck her address on a piece of paper into your pocket very deftly and very mysteriously. And this is part of her whole thing, is that like she wants to be seen as so mysterious and so whatever. But yeah, you go to her apartment, and even though I called her out to her face about the fact that she's like playing pretend with these cards that make her feel bad, she still wants me to stay over, and the orb tells me that I'm not allowed to. Basically, the orb is like, you can't spend the night
you don't
here.
have an option.
Yeah, the orb is like,
because I was looking for it. I was like this tall hot transgender fox wants me to fuck. Like, yeah, absolutely,
of course I will. But the orb doesn't let you. The orb is like, no, somebody's gonna knock on your door tomorrow morning, and you have to be there when it happens. So you have to go home tonight. Which is, I don't know, I think that's really funny. And I basically told her like, well, there's an orb telling me I have to go home. I love talking about the orb to people in the game. Nobody ever acknowledges
they
it.
never understand it. Like they always are like, what are you talking about?
Not even. They like don't even like, I will be like, oh yeah, so this orb, my orb tells me this, and they're like, they don't even mention it. They're like, okay. Moving on.
There's never a follow-up question. Yeah, I think like I think this Sinner is very hot, and then like towards the end, I think it's the second to last scene, you're walking through the woods with the Sinner, and there's this like very kind of violent moment where I think you get to choose. I wish I had like the video pulled up, but you like kiss her and she like pins you against the tree and like bites your neck, and it's like really intense. The knife play stuff with the pulp writer is like, it's a knife, but it's super sensual and like kind of soft. But the Sinner, it feels very tooth and claws, like you were saying.
Yes.
The quote, there's this illustration, first of all, which is like one of my favorite illustrations in the game. It's like shocking. It's so good. Of her like biting your neck. And,
her whole fox mouth is like fully wrapped around your entire neck.
Yeah. And her eyes are like big and red.
And wild.
And she says, I could bite right through, kill you here and now, watch you bleed out on the floor. Would it be a mercy, ghost? Do you truly feel that you deserve to live? And then right away, like you express like a tiny bit of doubt, and then she walks it back, and she's like, oh no, like I was like horny, but like, no, I care about you. Like, I'm not going to kill you. Which I thought was really interesting.
I feel like, I played this very differently than that.
Really?
I played this scene. I feel a little bit, I wish that I had played this scene differently, because I picked all the funny options.
Oh yeah. No, I picked I picked the horny ones.
Do you truly feel that you deserve to live question? I answered, I think I do, smiley face. Her jaw,
I did that one.
She says, her jaw squeezes ever so slightly tighter. Ghost whimpers. A fingernail bumps against the back of your throat. Youch, hot. And Ghost, another option I chose, it says, Ghost shakes her head solemnly. She says, Shenthropy makes shitters of shashal. When shall we strive to George not? And it's just like a whole paragraph of like all that, because she has her fingers in your mouth. It says, the bizarre sentence you just rambled seems to make the Sinner incredibly horny. Her breathing intensifies, her grip tightens.
That's hilarious. That's really funny. She's an enigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I like the sort of like, I think a lot of it is the illustration.
It's also one of my favorite illustrations in the game.
Yeah.
I love all the illustrations in this game. I think the artwork in this game, I might have mentioned this earlier, but I think the artwork in this game is so beautiful. I really love how like the diversity of styles that there are in the in the visual novel like artwork of this game. There's a lot that is sort of like more a straight up and down like furry art, all these
Yeah.
little fursona characters. But there's also these moments that are like so much more abstracted out, where they show Ghost as like a genuinely like a realistic little rat, that is rat shaped and rat sized instead of person shaped and person sized. And I love when the game does stuff like that. When they decide to just change styles for one scene, or for even not even for a scene, for one moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's some illustrations that are like super impressionistic, especially the outdoors ones, that are like super minimal, just a couple colors.
Yeah.
And it makes it feel very handmade. It doesn't feel like so slick.
Yeah.
So commercial. But then there's other scenes like the way the raven is drawn is like extremely like horny furry art. It feels like classic like that. But then you get these illustrations of the sinner that are like these really evocative, beautiful anatomy kind of stuff. I'm looking at one right now. There's a drawing. I had the landlord and the sinner both showed up at my door on the last day. And there's this drawing of the sinner like looking at the landlord, and the two of them in contrast is like just this beautiful piece of like, it reminds me a lot of comic art.
Yeah.
Like the acting of it that I think is really, really strong. And it's like 2 lines of dialogue in like a pretty specific ending. I just appreciated that attention to
What do you
detail.
mean? What do you mean by the acting of it?
Like when you're drawing a comic, you're drawing your characters in poses with facial expressions in order to like convey an emotion. And like for all intents and purposes, like that is acting, right? Like the way you position someone's eyes, like their expression, like is conveying a lot about the story. And that's what I mean by acting, is like when you're outlining how your characters are in space and what they look like, it's an artistic choice, it's a compositional choice, it's an acting choice, because you see them as people.
Yes. Cool.
I'll send you the screenshot right now.
Yeah. I love all the like the different styles in which they show the sinner. During one of the like second times, I think the second time that you like hang out with her, you go to an archive to look for caves to climb into.
Oh,
basically.
yeah. I love that scene.
And all of the art in this scene is like this like beige background with black ink sketches over it. And it's just like sketches of the sinner next to Ghost. And she is like fully 2 times the size of Ghost.
Yeah, she's huge.
It's
She's
really
so tall.
awesome. Oh, hi, Cookie. Did you hear that one?
I did hear that one.
But yeah, I like the sinner. The sinner is definitely one of the more, I think that of the characters in this game, the sinner is the one that I feel the most complicated about.
Yeah.
But I
feel very affectionate towards the pulp writer. I feel like I would love to play like read like a romance novel about her.
I would love to kiss her.
So true. Me too. Something I forgot to say about the weapon is I was really reminded of like times that I've talked to like older gay people. There's this feeling of like, and this might just be because like the weapon I think reads as pretty like significantly older.
But I don't know that
like,
they actually are, but they do read that way.
They do read that way. Yeah, I don't know if they ever mentioned their age, but there's a feeling of like I want to be polite and respectful, and also like I have a deep and intense curiosity about you that I need to like figure out the best way to approach. It was kind of funny that brought up those same feelings, like because you're given a bunch of opportunities to ask them about the war, which is clearly like a traumatic subject, and I do want to know about it, but it was sometimes hard to know how to approach that. Like it reminded me of like trying to talk to older gay people about like the AIDS crisis,
right?
And that feeling of like this is important to both of us, I know, but it's hard to know like how to approach it.
Yeah. I love the I love talking to people about the war in this game because it
Yeah.
makes me want to. Everyone who had anything to do with it has such strong, visceral feelings about it. Obviously, especially the Weapon and the Raven, who were both like in the war fighting. It makes it like really, like you said, it's like hard to ask them about it. You want to like try it. It's something that the game makes you feel like you should tiptoe around, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really good.
Yeah. There are a couple other things. I did go around and do most of the activities.
I did not.
There's one or two that I didn't. I never found the cryptid. I ran around in the woods for a long time looking for the cryptid, but I could not find them. I kept getting scared and then realizing there was nothing there. So I don't even know if there is a cryptid. But there's an achievement for it. There's an achievement for it, so I assume there is, but it's hard to know.
Did you do the little snake stuff?
I did the snake, I think, on the last day, and so I got a little money from the snake.
Oh, really? I didn't do any of the snake stuff. That's why I ask.
Yeah, I think the snake like came and gave me money, and they were like, "You need to make sure to feed the snake every day," and then the game ended. So I don't know if there's like a big payoff for that, but
I know that
it was cute.
I know that I think that if you feed the snake every day, I think if you like talk to the snake on the first day and feed them, and then fail to feed them afterward, you get introduced to another character. But I don't know like the specifics of it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think someone different knocks on your door and is like mad at you for not feeding the snake. But I don't know the specifics of it. I didn't do it. I did the same thing as you. I fed the snake on the last day, and then I never went back and did it. Yeah. I didn't do a lot of the like ancillary activities that were not related to like the main characters. I went to the sex party, which turns out to be just a single Dutch guy standing around and being a chaser.
Yeah, I tried a couple times to fuck him, and I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
just for fun.
He shows up.
He gets kind of annoyed with you. Like you show up and you like talk to him a couple times, and then he's like, "All right, get out of here," which is so funny. He's like so psyched to like meet a trans woman, then he's like bored.
I started that scene with him, and then like pretty instantly I was like, all right, I'm done with this, and I skipped through a lot of the dialogue.
Oh, he sucks.
He sucks so bad.
He's terrible.
I did love the scene where if you talk to him and then you go to Pride on the last day, he does show up, and he does his whole shtick where he's a chaser.
Oh,
and
really?
He kind of harasses you in the pulp writer, and then he's like standing on top of a sewer grate and he falls into the sewer, which is really
so funny.
It's like a funny little cartoon physical comedy bit.
That was another scene with the pulp writer that I really loved.
Going to Pride,
walking around Pride with her. There's a moment where like you sit on a bench and you just like observe and like have a quiet moment. That felt like such like a thing to do with your girlfriend. You know?
Sit on a bench.
Sit on a bench at Pride and like take a moment to relax. Can you hear the ice cream truck?
I can. Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's what it is. My last apartment, I would get an ice cream truck. I'm not joking, like every hour on the hour. And it drove me insane, like all summer.
That sounds crazy.
It was way too much. And it made me, this is not on topic at all, but
that's fine.
It pissed me off because I was like, the kids in this neighborhood aren't going to grow to appreciate the ice cream truck. Like when I was a child, like the ice cream truck would come like maybe twice a month, you know, and it would be like, oh, a special occasion, Mom, like, can I have like a couple dollars for the ice cream truck?
Yeah.
The ice cream truck, if it's here like 6 times a day, every day in summer, like there's no excitement.
Every now and then, it didn't happen often, but every now and then at the skate park in Alston, the ice cream truck would like pull up on the side of the road, like near the skate park. And it was so funny every time just seeing all the skater dudes just like throw down their board and skate to the ice cream truck to go buy their like SpongeBob ice cream.
That's awesome.
It was a beautiful The world is so beautiful sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, do you see this screenshot of the landlord and the sinner here? I put it in the
do. I did not get this. This is really funny.
Yeah, isn't that? It's like a beautiful. Well, we can post it in the show notes or something.
Yeah.
But it's this beautiful contrast of the sinner all in black, looking so witchy and a little otherworldly. Like she doesn't have pupils, and then the landlord looks like a Harry Potter character, like Petunia Dursley over here.
I love how sharp the sinner is in comparison to her.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah.
Really, really strong.
Did you pay your rent?
I paid my rent the first playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of the first things I did because I'm a good boy.
Okay.
And then I did not ever in the next two.
So
I was like, and it doesn't matter is what I learned.
in my first playthrough, it took me forever to fix the hole in my roof.
Yeah.
It took me probably until the beginning of day 3 to do it because I just like kept putting it off. I was like, I got a plank and I got the hammer and then I didn't have nails and I knew I had to go to the store probably to get nails, but I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then the landlady, she shows up at your door and she was so mad at me for having a hole in my roof. She charges you more money for rent if you haven't fixed the hole in your roof. She charges you normally the rent is like £75 or something, and she charges you 100. And
That's funny.
Yeah, so I fixed it, and if you fix it, she bumps it down to 75. And you can also talk to her, and this is what I did. You can talk to her when you go to pay your rent, and you can ask her like, "What do you use this money for?" And she says, well, I use it for repairs. And you say, well, what repairs? I fixed the hole in my roof. And she's like, well, I used it to tile your roof and blah, blah, blah. And if you pass an orb check, the orb is like, your roof isn't tiled, it's thatched. And you can say that to her. And she's like, she bumps down the rent again from like 75 to 55. But yeah, I really liked, I mean, I hated paying my rent, but I really liked the like weird economy of this game. The fact that you need money to do several things. You need money for hormones, even if you get them illegitimately from the woman who sells you them on the side of the road in that one spot. Did you meet this woman?
No. I don't think so, no.
This is how I finally got my hormones, because I couldn't get them from the clinic the 2 times that I went. Yeah. I was talking to the pulp writer, and the pulp writer was like, well, I've told you all my sorry tales about my life. I've given you my tragic backstory. You should tell me some things that trouble you. And I said, I need hormones and I don't know how to get them. And she says, oh, I get them from this woman. She brews estrogen herself out of moonshine. And she sells it. I can tell you where to meet her. You can meet her at this street, at night, every night. And it costs £35 to buy them from her. And she's like sitting, when you go and find her, it's like nighttime and she's standing by a bridge, and I forget her name. It's like the Moon Maiden or something, because she brews estrogen out of moonshine. And she is, she's like wearing a mask and is like, you have to have a code word to get to her. And I say like, oh, I don't have a code word. but I do know your friend. She's a writer. She says hi, by the way. And they're like, well, that's better than a code word.
That's really cute.
Yeah. And so you can buy hormones from her, and that's how I ended up actually getting my hormones in both of my playthroughs, because I couldn't do it the proper way through the clinic.
That's such I love that kind of detail, like, because it's like so much of this game is like about what it's like to be transgender, in a way that is can in other contexts be a little like, okay, we get it, like, this is my real life. I don't know why you're making me read about it or play a game about it. But I think when it is filtered through this lens of like fantasy and humor, and furries, like it takes on a distance that allows you to like have a little bit of a laugh about it and like experience it in new ways. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a version of this game that is like set in contemporary Britain with human characters that is much less fun.
Yeah.
Because of that.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, it would be bad.
It would be bad if it was a game that was not a furry game.
Yeah.
I think that this game works because it's a furry game.
I think it is a major reason, yeah.
But I got my hormones from the Moon Maiden, I think is her name. There's a line that you can ask, I think the orb, or maybe you just ask her, like, is it illegal to sell estrogen made of moonshine? And she's basically like, no, I just wear the mask. Which is really funny.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
I
did try. There's a radio station at your home that's like the Sissy Hypno radio station that I tried to do, and I couldn't. It was like, you do not feel any different, and I was
okay. I didn't listen to the Sissy Hypno radio.
Yeah, it was that. It was just that, and I got a little skeeved out. I'll be honest. I was like, oh, come on, man. But yeah. maybe there's like a world where it successfully Sissy hypnos you into
that would be really funny. I doubt it.
I doubt it. But it is funny that it's like a whole ass like option.
Do you want to talk about the ending? How do we feel about the ending?
I love the ending.
Yeah.
It's interesting sort of how similar, because I got the ending for the pulp writer and then the sinner and then the weapon. And it's interesting how similar they are. They end pretty abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
You have a moment where whoever you sort of had the closest relationship with knocks on your door, and you have like a short interaction with them that like ties some things up and doesn't tie up other things, and then you go on a walk and you get a bit of narration from Nasty Girl and the Orb and Lovely Lady, where it's basically explained to you like, yeah, it is just gonna end. Like life is gonna continue. Some things have changed, some things have not. Like, and I think Orb asks you a question that is like, oh, like, did you think it would all like resolve itself? That's not how life works. Like, no, it just keeps going, which is like a little sudden, and it took me kind of off guard the first time, but I really enjoyed the kind of hopefulness that implies, especially because of what those three characters are looking for, which is like they're all searching for something. They're all hoping to find something that I don't think they will. But like the search continues, and you will be there this time with them. What that said to me was like, some things change, some things don't, but like now you are in their life and they are in yours, and that is really valuable and beautiful.
Yeah, there's a moment.
So I liked it a lot.
The ending of this game, for each of the like main characters that you have a strong relationship with, which is to say the sinner, the weapon, and the pulp writer, you get a moment towards the end of their storyline where you can say like, hey, listen, it sounds like your brain's all wrapped up in some stuff. We should go for a walk in the woods. This is, and it's like, basically the point is like, this is what the point of life is to go for walks in the woods and to just like exist in the world. Which is,
yeah, I just agree with that, which is like a big reason that I liked it. It's just like, the game is saying the thing that I agree with.
Wait, did you say you disagree with that or you agree with that?
No, I agree with it.
Yeah.
Like, I think the point of life is to hang out and have fun.
Yeah.
Like, to go for a walk in the woods. Like,
yeah. It's basically saying, like, this is what it's all about. Let's go for a walk in the woods. Yeah. Let's clear our head a little bit. And you get this moment with everybody. I don't know if you know this. You can invite everyone You can go for a walk in the woods.
I see you've just sent me an image.
The first playthrough I did, I went for a walk in the woods in the end with the weapon and the pulp writer. And in my second playthrough, I did the same thing, except I also invited the sinner. And so in my second playthrough, the ending was me and the pulp writer and the sinner and the weapon all together walking in the woods. And that's the end of the story. Life just goes on from that point. There is no real end. Orb says, time doesn't have an arbitrary cutoff point, Ghost. It keeps going and it never ends. At some point, Ghost is also like, we just keep going on. We just continue like this day after day after day. And Orb's like, that's generally how life works. Yes. So the end of the game is not the end of like the story. It really underlines the fact that like this ultimately is a story about just these characters living, you know, and especially Ghost just like finding her path as far as like being a person who just is alive, you know? And that is ultimately the most important thing, is that you're all alive, you're all going for walks, you're all together. But you can invite everybody. I had a whole party going in the woods together, me and the weapon and the sinner. And
I see this illustration.
Yeah.
This is so fun. You're all hanging out.
It's really cute.
This drawing of the pulp writer, too, is really cute.
It's adorable.
That's my beautiful wife.
I was worried in my second playthrough that it would cause a situation between the sinner and the pulp writer, because I had kissed both of them and invited both of them to go on a walk and hadn't really told either one of them that there would be additional people that I had kissed that would be there. But it doesn't matter. You just kiss both of them, and neither of them seem to really care. So take from that what you will, I guess.
They got relationship anarchy in the furry game.
I would say probably do not replicate that in the real world. I think maybe you should tell people before you invite several people on the same date. It's really cute that they're just going for a walk together. I really liked the ending of this game.
That's a lovely lady. Oh, one thing they say at the beginning, I think when the tutorial ends, it's like, step into the lovely lady verse.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's really cute.
Lovely lady verse.
And then there's some games on itch that are like listed as like also in the lovely lady verse. And I played the most recent one. On Poppy's page on itch, there's like several games in the lovely lady verse that you can check out. Yeah, I played the most recent one, which was like you're like a woman in like a mining town, and then I played through it once and I got murdered, and I was like, okay, time to go to bed.
I haven't played any of the other ones, but I do want to play the Mia Kane game that I had mentioned before. That was made in the Nerat engine. Very, very interested in that.
Overall, I would recommend Lovely Lady RPG.
I recommend going for a walk in the woods with your friends.
So true.
But also Lovely Lady RPG. I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah.
This was a very pleasant surprise for me. I kind of didn't know whether I was going to like it. And in the beginning, when they were like really introducing like Lovely Lady and Nasty Girl, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this game.
I had the exact same moment.
But they warmed up to me.
I was like, is this going to be like Twitter in 2019?
And it is, in a sense.
Yeah. for better or for worse. But I mean, that's the thing is like, I said this kind of already, but like, Twitter in 2019 exists in my head, you know, as much as I would rather it didn't. Mm-hmm. Like, it is there, and it's okay.
Yeah. So I like this game. I definitely am a fan.
Graphics 8 out of 10.
Graphics.
Gameplay 7 out of 10. Awesome action. Hot ladies, 10 out of 10.
Off-putting women. It's got it all.
It's got everything.
Step aside, God of War. yeah, that's lovely, Lady RPG. Is there any closing thoughts before we start wrapping up?
Thank you so much for listening to Leaving the Party with me, Tess Shillipoti. You can find me at tesshillipoti.com and on Instagram at tesshillipoti.
Yeah.
I make comics.
She makes comics. They're really good. I, of course, am Kerry. You can find all of my games writing at leavingtheparty.blog. And you can find me on Blue Sky in the same place. It doesn't matter. Mostly, you should check out my website.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with the website.
Everyone's doing websites.
Everyone's doing websites now. My friend Lynn told me that she's planning on starting a blog because of Leaving the Party. I thought that was really, really charming to me. It's a sort of thing. You know, not everybody has read Leaving the Party, but everyone who did starting a blog.
Yeah,
it's a funny little joke. What game are we playing next?
Next up, we're doing Felvidek.
Yes.
I played about a half hour last night.
Have you?
I just started it. That's what we're doing next. It is a RPG.
That's true.
Yeah.
Felvidek, I have not started playing it yet, but it's a JRPG set in 15th century Slovakia. You play as an alcoholic knight, Pavel. It seems real weird. I'm very curious about it. It looks like, I can't say this 100% for certain, but it looks like it was made in RPG Maker, which I think is lovely. Has a very, very weird and distinct visual style. So I'm hoping to enjoy that. I haven't played it yet, but
I'm excited to talk about it with you, my friend Kerry, here on Leaving the Party.
That's right. That's us, baby.
That's right.
leavingtheparty.blog /
check it out
podcast. That's a page I'm gonna have to make now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have a good night. I love you, listener. I'm your best friend.
I love you, Tess.
I love you, Kerry.
That's so sweet. This is great.
We should go for a walk in the woods sometime.
I would love that. I gotta get my dumb ass down to New York City to go for all the famous woods in New York City.
I was gonna say you probably have those in Boston.
We do have a lot of woods up here, but
yeah.
Either way, I gotta get my dumb ass down to New York City sometime.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I don't really have an outro. That works.